Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Affairs of State. I hope that today finds everyone nice and safe and comfortable more than anything else. And as we go through each day dealing with COVID-19 and having to deal with the effects that it has on each and every one of us, the one thing I'm hoping more than anything else is that we're actually taking this virus seriously. I've talked to many colleagues, whether it's from my brothers who are Caucasian, or whether it's from my brothers whose skin that looks like mine. There are those who are truly taking this virus serious. And then there are others who are really, truly not taking this virus seriously. And a lot of individuals truly believe that, well, it's something similar to the cold, or it's something, well, we just have to deal with it. And unfortunately, yes, we do have to deal with it, but on a daily basis, you have individuals that are dying from this particular virus. And the one thing that we have to be continually cognizant of is, as we deal with this particular disease or this particular virus, there is something that's coming up that can help us work with this virus as we come in contact with it. The one thing is that we now have something that's called a vaccination that we've been receiving for umpteen years for other ailments and for other diseases that have come along. And now we have a vaccination that can help us to be able to deal with this virus called COVID-19, coronavirus as we know it to be. However, the one problem that we also have with the vaccination is that we have a lot of individuals that are saying there's no way I'm getting the vaccine. Earlier, it was said that a lot of people were not going to get the vaccination because as long as it was coming through the previous administration, they would have nothing to do with the vaccination at all, under no circumstances. And for that, I do understand. However, now we have a new administration in place. They are making sure that the vaccine that is currently going out to the public is available, and it is something that will cause very little issues with us who actually receive it. There have been a couple of individuals, as we know, that have had some reactions to the vaccine, but those individuals appear to have been isolated just in a couple of areas. And that was a very, I guess you could say, if there are any benefits from that, there was a benefit that it was only isolated to a couple of locations. England, and also there were a few people in England, there were a few people in Oregon, and when the vaccine first rolled out. However, there have been a few more individuals that have been affected by the vaccine. The only problem is, and it doesn't matter if it was from Moderna or it was from the Pfizer vaccine. Johnson & Johnson is in the process of rolling out their vaccine shortly. Well, we don't have an exact timetable on that, but the only problem is just making sure that you're in a position to receive the vaccine. Now, for this particular show, since this is Black History Month, the one thing I want to do is focus on a lot of things that actually affect us in our community, in the African American community. And with the African American community, we have been subjected to many horrific incidents, many horrific problems that have come our way. And this has, I'm trying to find the words that I can use that will ease what we're going through. But this virus has really wreaked havoc on the African American community, and it appears that because of issues, ailments, and other problems that we have in the African American community, this virus appears to just latch on to current problems that we have. If we have diabetes, if we have high blood pressure, if we have whatever the issue may be, it appears to just really latch on and really wreak havoc in that particular area. There was one 14-year-old girl who was a Caucasian, if I don't mind saying. She was 14 years old. And a lot of individuals say, well, it won't affect anyone if you're young. Well, she was 14 years old. And what happened with that particular child is the virus latched on to something that they knew nothing about. They didn't even know that she had the problem. And she had leukemia. To my knowledge, she's still alive, thankfully. And she's not only being treated, or she was being treated for COVID-19, but now she's being treated for leukemia. The virus just seems to just navigate its way into areas that we are the most vulnerable in, and it attacks those areas, and there is seemingly nothing we can do except make sure that we stay and take care of ourselves. I had a gentleman on here from Meharry Medical College, and the one thing that he said, he gave recommendations on things we must do to battle the virus, and if we contract the virus, things we must make sure that we do. The things that he said, we must make sure that our morale is high, because if we are constantly stressed, constantly worried, and we're constantly upset, that stresses our system, and that will bring our immune system down. So that's something that we cannot do. Something else, he said, make sure we exercise. And also make sure that we eat well. I love cake. I love donuts. I love pie. And that's my weakness. And there's no need of me lying. Those are my weaknesses. But guess what I've done? I've cut back. And I'm feeling a lot healthier. I contracted COVID-19. My entire family contracted COVID-19 the first week of December, as I stated on the first show from last week. Thankfully, I thank God that we all made it through. From me being the oldest, I'm 56, down to my youngest, who's 15. And I thank God that we, each and every one of us, we made it through. My sisters actually contracted it. My sister-in-law actually contracted it. And thankfully, we all made it through. But there are many others who did not. And the reason I want to focus this particular show for African Americans especially is because of what happened, what actually started in 1932. And that was the Tuskegee study, or the Tuskegee experiment, as for what some people would call it. And the reason why I want to speak and focus on that is because in speaking to some of my African American brothers and sisters, they're saying no, and some of them are even saying hell no. They're not getting the vaccination because we don't want to be subjected to another experiment. We don't want to be subjected to another study. How do I know that the shot I'm receiving is going to be for the vaccine, or is it going to be another study? Well, the only problem with that, friends, is that this is not just a vaccine or just a shot that is just going out to just African Americans. This shot is going out to everyone. So if you just happen to be in line or your appointment is right behind someone else that their skin is a little bit fairer than yours, then guess what? Even though they will use a different needle, which they should, different needle or different syringe, which they should and which they will, it is still from the vaccine to fight COVID-19. Now let's revisit what actually took place in 1932. What actually transpired then in the what was called at the time the Tuskegee study. They actually took 600 black men, 600 African Americans, 600 black men, 399 that were going to be given the syphilis virus, or given syphilis. Let's just call it what it is, syphilis. They were given syphilis. 201 were not given syphilis, but they were given something that they just want to be under a controlled study. During this time, when they went to these people, they were told, okay, yes, what's going to happen is that you will be given a shot that's going to be tested, but the only problem is that when they were given this shot, they were never told what it was, except they would receive free health care and free benefits for the rest of their lives. Their family would be given this for the rest of their lives. And of course, when you receive free health care, oh, I don't have to pay to go to the doctor? Oh, wow, great. Absolutely awesome. So not a problem. So at the time, they agreed. But unfortunately, the individuals that actually gave them this information, they did not give them all of the information. And for the next 40 years, that's right, this test, the study, the Tuskegee study, was supposed to have gone on for only 6 months. But instead of it stopping after 6 months, it lasted for 40 years. Testing, killing African American men. And guess what? When you have a venereal disease, you take it home. And not only that, but all of the other people that they infected because of this study. It's one thing to just be a part of a test and be a test subject. Because guess what they had to have in order for the vaccination to be rolled out for COVID-19? They actually had to have test subjects in order to make it work. One of the things that they actually said during the COVID-19 test study is that it was said that they did not have pregnant women. Now, women got pregnant during the test, but they did not have pregnant women or did not bring in women who were pregnant to start the test. So one of the things that they rolled out and that they indicated is that maybe or maybe not, pregnant women should not be involved. They should not receive the vaccine. However, take it at your own discretion. These are some of the things that are being said. But the women who were pregnant who became pregnant. Let me clear that up. The women who became pregnant during the time of the study, we have not heard any negative comments or any negative responses from those who were part of the study. Another issue is that of the people that were involved, only, and I hope I have this number correct, and this came from the individual that was from Meharry Medical College. He indicated that approximately 9% of the people that were engaged in the study, only 9% were African American. Now, is that enough? Is that enough to say that would be a great representation for the African American community? Yes. That's what they're saying. It should be enough since we only make up 13% of the people that are in the United States. So this is one of the things that they're saying is that, sure, that should be a great enough representation for the African American community. But let's go back to the Tuskegee study. During that time, a lot of information was not passed on, it was not given to the African American community. Now, as I go back, I want to pull up, and hopefully I do have this information readily available. But what is syphilis itself? Now, as we all know, syphilis is a venereal disease, and most of the time it's contracted via sexual contact. But what syphilis is that you can get painless ulcers, sores, other wart-like growths around your private areas. And these are things that the African American, these black men experienced. But not only that, they received blindness, dementia, and of course, some of them died. Now, also some of the other things that actually took place was around about the time in 1947 with this 6-month study that continued on. And between 1940 and I believe it was 1947, please check the timetable, penicillin was discovered. But guess what? Even though penicillin was out there during that time, these black men were not given that drug to help them with syphilis. They just continued on with the study. Now, in our community, what's happened is that a lot of individuals are saying, you know what, I just can't, because of what happened from 1932 to 1972. I just can't, because I don't know what's going to happen to me. This is the problem, that these efforts are going to just say, you know what, they could change a syringe and try and see what's going to happen with me. But the only problem is, today, in today's society, in today's environment, guys, fortunately, and I have to say it like this, fortunately, and it has been discussed many times over, they are not going to take the time to inject us with anything to inhibit us or to hinder us from being well or helping us. Many things happened during that time. And the one thing is that we look at this and a lot of people think that it was an effort to hinder the African American population from being successful. Because once you, doing that study, I mean, think about it. Once you contract the disease, you take it home. If you're single, of course, you're going to date. They're not knowing what's going to happen. Of course, if you don't show initial symptoms, you continue to go out. You continue to mingle. So guess what? These are problems that the African American community face today, because this is fresh. In 1972, I was 7 years old. So guess what? Members in my family, even though they were not subjected to the study, but it was talked about. I lived in Mississippi. Tuskegee was just one state over. So in our African American community, we talked about this quite a bit. It's still being talked about quite a bit. But the one thing I must say, and I must reiterate more than anything else, is that with COVID-19, just like that study during that time, if we take it home, it can affect us and it can kill us. But unlike that study that actually took place on African American communities, this is not a subject that is up for debate. It's affecting everyone. It's going around to communities. It hit Antarctica. Now, no one is going to Antarctica to just infect someone with the COVID-19 virus. This is something that is going and that is affecting people worldwide. And in order to combat this particular virus, is that we must receive the vaccine. Right now, here in the state of Indiana, in which I live, they're vaccinating individuals 65 and up. I have a little time to wait. But as soon as my number is called, guess what I'm planning on doing? I'm gone. I'm there. Now you have essential workers that are in a position to receive the vaccine. My son, who is a minister, he's an essential worker because of people that he has to see, individuals that he will see. So they consider ministers essential workers. He has received the vaccine. He has taken it. He has received it. No reaction. No reaction. I repeat for the third time, no reaction to the vaccine. And my son happens to be 30 years old. The reason why I mention that is because he is a black male. And it's very important for us to understand the importance of becoming vaccinated for this particular disease, for this particular virus. If we don't, then it's a guarantee that you will receive the virus if you do not take precautionary measures, especially wearing a mask, especially making sure you purchase Lysol and spray your house down, or if you don't have wipes or if you just stay safe and stay in your bubble. If you just allow people to come in just willy-nilly, oh, it doesn't matter, come on in, accept anyone in, this can happen. Yes, we let our guard down for a second, and we contracted the virus. But I thank God again that we overcame the virus. But the one thing I say to you, in order for us to overcome what this virus is actually doing to not only the African American community, but also every community that's out there, we must make sure that prior to us receiving our number and our call to receive the vaccine, wear your mask. Please. So you won't take it home and affect someone else. Because what can happen is that when you do that, who and how many others will be affected because of what you do? Please think about it. As I said, because of what transpired from 1932 to 1972 was wrong. There is no other way to place it. It was wrong. It was just wrong, blatantly wrong. And for them not allowing them to receive penicillin, that all they had to do was just receive a shot of penicillin, and it would have inoculated them from the virus, from syphilis. They would have been healed. They would have been fine. But no, they didn't do that. So trust me, as an African American male, I understand what my community is saying about no or hell no, I'm not receiving the the vaccination. But I'm saying yes, that I'm receiving it. Everyone in my family has already said that they are going to receive it. My extended family, my mom, my dad, and others around me that I know, they're saying, yes, I'm going to receive it. I have talked to others that have said, you know what, no, from herbal remedies and other items that we can eat, I'm not going to do that. Now, it has been discovered that a lot of other homeopathic remedies have worked, but some have not worked. We have had situations where there have been parents to take their children to school and not receive the chicken pox or other vaccinations because it was against their beliefs, it was against their religion. And because of that, they sent their children to school, and others were affected by their children not receiving just that regular vaccine that you get when you're 5, 6, or even younger. And you had children that died because of it. Be responsible. Think about your own family members. Think about your own children for that effect. And think about what can happen to you and to others. The only thing I want to leave you with today is just family. If you don't think about anyone else, just think of family. I want to be able to see my mom again. I want to be able to see my dad. I want to be able to see my sisters and my brother. But in order for me to be able to see them once again, I got to have my shot. I have to make sure that even though I'm wearing my mask, even though I'm going to have my hand sanitizer, I'll carry my spray with me. Yes, do I believe in God? Most definitely. But God also gave us wisdom of what we need to do for certain things. And if you would allow me for 30 seconds to elaborate on that, when he told Moses to take his people out of Egypt, he gave them specific instructions of what to do to protect themselves when the angel of death came to Egypt. He gave them specific instructions of what to do to protect themselves. And if they did it, the angel of death would pass over their home. If they did not, the angel of death would say, "How you doing? It's your turn. Come on with me." And because of those instructions, they lived and they left Egypt. We have instructions today on what we are to do to protect ourselves. If we are too ignorant to listen, that's on you. I'm sorry to make it sound so bluntly, but that's on you. So think about your health, think about your family, and think about what is to happen next in your life. Now, I'm planning on closing the show on that comment, and hopefully we'll have others that would want to come on and discuss or talk about not only COVID-19, but also other things that's affecting our community. And some of the things that's affecting our community, and as I had Indiana State Senator Greg Taylor on the show last week, we talked about some of the bills that are coming down for the state of Indiana and how it's affecting the African American community, especially with police behavior towards us and how we react to that particular behavior. We will continue to discuss those topics next week, next Monday, and we will continue on throughout the entirety of this show. And whether we have anyone on from the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus next week, or if we have them recorded or on for another time, we will make sure that we continue on with this conversation and with this discussion, because we also play a role in making sure we live through any type of confrontation that we have with the police, because there are a lot, I repeat, there are a lot of good police officers that are out there. Unfortunately, there are some bad. But we cannot, under no stretch of the imagination, paint everyone with the same brush. So make sure that as you go out, you watch yourself, you act accordingly. And yes, be who you are. Be yourself. Don't change unless you're acting negatively. That will bring attention on yourself negatively. But be yourself. And make sure you just stay safe. And with that being said, may God bless you. I look forward to seeing you next Monday on Affairs of State at 5 p.m. And prior to Affairs of State, we also have Block Sports, where we talk about HBCU sports. And we talk about your favorite HBCU and what they're currently doing in sports today. And as you can see, I have behind me my Block Sports banner, and I wanted to make sure that I highlight it. And after a while, I will be taking it down and making sure I put up my Affairs of State banner. But I want to make sure that I highlight Block Sports as well as Affairs of State. So until we meet each other next week, May God bless you, and may God keep you safe. But remember, when it's time for you to become vaccinated and for you to receive the vaccine for COVID-19, make sure you do. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay well, and see you next week here on Affairs of State. God bless.